wrong there. I'm going to have to blame you two for this. All right? You're going to have to get with it with the video stuff, boys. I'm sorry. I can't offer any training or anything, Here. Thanks very much for joining us. We got Joe O'Connor. We got Louis Heathcoate, new professionals on the tour. Okay? Call them what you like. We are. Boys, I'm just having a little glass of wine just in case you get on my nerves, all right? But, look, it's going to be okay. Anyway, look, Joe, we're going to start with you, all right? Yeah. It's always good to have a couple of younger professionals on here because we can sort of build it up a little bit and go through a very quick profile, because the focus of this live stream really is to talk about how you're doing on the tour, how you feel, and anticipation, all that sort of stuff, and what's going on in terms of playing in the competitions. Joe, you started off. You were a pool player. You were pretty much a junior pool champion, and you came into the game, but you pretty much dominated the amateur scene. 2017, 2018, you were getting close in everything if you weren't winning it. So you were kind of looking like getting on the tour in that respect, and it probably maybe it felt that way, and you to that extent you got on the tour through the playoffs, and rather than Q school. Louis, on the other hand, you did all the hard work. Joe didn't. You went to Q school, absolute torture. You had to beat all those guys, to get on there. So. You could say Joe had it easy, you had it tough. I don't know, but then Joe was winning all the competitions. He was winning all the amateur competitions, So, fair to say he deserved to be on, and so did you, mate. So you both worked pretty hard, But Joe, you did very, very well, mate. As I said, in the amateur scene, you pretty much dominated the EBSA, if you want to call it that, at that time, in terms of amateur events, and you got to the playoffs, and you're always looking like getting on a tour. And, no sooner had you got on the tour, and you jumped right in there. You started beating top 16 players, and did you expect that, Joe, just starting with yourself? I mean, how did you anticipate that, extending yourself from the amateur scene and then going on to the professional tour? What did you anticipate? What were your feelings coming into the pro game?
To be honest, when I turned pro, I can hear myself. That's weird. When I turned pro, the first sort of few tournaments, I thought it was going to be like sort of a bit different and a bit sort of new. But having done quite well in a couple of Q schools, like a few years before I turned pro, I got invited to a lot of the professional tournaments, and I think that experience and just experiencing the environment, how the tournaments worked and stuff like that, really helped me when I did turn pro, because nothing was really new, so I could literally just concentrate on playing the game, trying to win matches. So that was definitely a big help.
And that was your focus. I mean, look, you've actually done very well, Joe. I mean, you've been on the tour, and you're currently provisionally ranked 42 in the world. I mean, I think any lad, you're by the way, you're just in case some of the guys don't know that. I know you look a lot older, but you're only 25 years old. But 25 years old, you've been on the tour. You're ranked provisionally 42 in the world. Do you feel as if you've done enough to get there? I mean, do you?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I mean, I'm there, so I must have done enough. I don't know. I had a good run in the Welsh a couple of years ago. I think that tournament, and then I did well in the China, and then nearly qualified for the Worlds. I think them sort of 3 tournaments, and then this year I've done pretty good as well. So it's I've been sort of consistent, and I'm obviously doing enough to be there. So
well, look, Joe, to get on the tour, and to beat top 16 players, and you've beaten quite a few of them, by the way, and you've won quite a lot of your qualifiers to get yourself in the top 64. Is pretty much is that something you expected to do?
I didn't expect to win, a lot of matches. Well, definitely is not as many as I did in the first season. I knew I could win them, but it's different when you go out there in the tournaments on your own, and the level between sort of amateur and professionals, I would say quite a big gap.
Massive.
The consistency. Even like safeties, you're always sort of in trouble all the time, and it's just a different way of playing the game. I don't know. I say surprised myself, but I knew I could always win. In practice, I'd sort of practice with a few professionals, and I was winning sort of sets. But to do it in tournaments is a little bit different.
Yeah. Just swinging over to you, Louis, just to give the guys a little bit of background. You're 23 years old, and obviously you got on the tour through Q School, and you did very well to do that. Actually, did you surpass yourself, Louis? How did you feel? Did you feel going into Q School that you were ready for the tour? Did you expect to get on the tour?
Not in a sense. No, I feel like you never feel prepared for Q School, no matter how much hard work you put in. There's always doubts in the back of your head. But I think when getting through Q School, and I had like 2 tournaments like a week after I got on, so I was still confident from qualifying through Q School, and then winning my first 2 matches gave me the belief that I knew I could win, so I could take that for the rest of the season and stuff like that. Instead of struggling at the start and not being able to get a win, I started off with 2 wins, so I knew that I could win. I knew I could play well under pressure, so I could take that for the rest of the season. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just for the information, the guys who are watching this, you're actually currently provisionally ranked 69, I think, which is probably not where you prefer to be as we're getting towards the end of the second season, but it's actually not a bad place to be, Louis, because if you get a few wins under your belt, you can just squeeze yourself in the top 64. So
yeah,
is that the way you're looking at things at the moment there?
Yeah, on the end of season rankings, I think I'm 62, 63, so it's going to be tight. I know I'm doing it the hard way. Joe just breezed straight through. Did one of the first year securities course, but he made it look easy, but it's not easy to stay on. I've given myself a chance to stay on, which is what my aim was to do from when I turned pro. I'm still in the pro series that I qualified for the next stage, so that could help me out. I think it'll all come down to the Worlds, really. The Worlds is huge, so if I can play well and win a couple of matches there, I think, I'll stay on.
I'm getting the feeling, this is just a feeling, okay? I'm getting the feeling that you two are actually enjoying this. You're actually enjoying the experience. Now, I know, Joe, you've done very well, actually, in terms of, getting on the tour and beating the quality of players that you have. Louis, perhaps maybe you could say that you've maybe had quite an easier story as Joe in that respect, but you've been really thrown in at the deep end there, So, guys, Joe, you just touched on it there just a couple of minutes ago, in terms of the differences between the guys on the tour and the guys coming on from the amateur scene. So what was it like for you guys? Was it a bit of a shell shock all of a sudden getting on the tour? Is it what you expected in terms of, scoring and safety and winning matches? We'll start with you, Joe.
What sort of the level of professionals compared to the amateurs? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. I say the main word is consistency. The consistency in good safeties, taking chances, making breaks, just being punished consistently, basically, is the easiest way to describe it. And you sort of expect it because they're professionals. But it is different, when you're on the receiving end of it, and you think, Jesus Christ, how can I win here? I'm not getting a chance to. So yeah, definitely
Is
a
it
big difference.
it to be, Joe? Is it what you expected it to be, or was it was it a lot tougher than you thought it was going to be in your first season?
I definitely expected it to be harder. Trying to think back, I don't know if it was exactly what I expected or not, but it was definitely hard, and luckily I sort of adapted fairly quick, and managed to do really well in the Welsh, like I said. But yeah, it's a good experience, definitely a good experience.
And yourself, Louis?
Yeah, I think the difference is the safety and stuff. That's what I struggled with at the start. My safety was never really that good, or my shot selection, shall I say. So having to work a lot on my safety, and it's not just playing one good safety shot; it's playing 4 or 5 in a row to get the chance. I was sort of relied on my long potting to get me in, but a good safety is just as good as a long pot, which I'm still learning at the minute. But I feel like the pros take their chances a lot more. I think what Joe said about consistency, that's definitely the key word there. Consistently making 70s, 80s, 90s, whereas in the amateurs scene, they'd probably make like a 40 or a 50. You'd probably get a chance. But if you miss or make a mistake on the pro tour, pretty much the frame's over.
So, I mean, look, in comparison to a lot of the other guys that got on the tour, Joe, you could say that you did exceptionally well. Louis, I'll tell you what particularly impressed me about you is you seem to fit in very, very quickly. I mean, I don't know whether it's because you feel comfortable going to events, but you seem to just get on with it. You know what I mean? I mean, were you worried about the TV cameras or the crowds or the atmosphere, or did you, or were you? I mean, Louis, you seem to be very, very comfortable with it. Joe, I sort of watched you in the first season when you were playing, and you looked a bit nervous as much as you played well. So how did you both view the arena, the venues, and the crowds, and that sort of atmosphere at the professional setup, Joe?
Like I said, because I was invited for a couple of years to sort of tournaments before I turned pro. I was sort of used to the arena and the venue, and sort of the crowds there. Obviously, the crowds weren't watching me, but the crowds just being in and around them. You said I was sort of maybe looked a bit nervous, but I didn't feel it at all, really. I think it was just the step up, sort of having to play well all the time almost, and then I did, and it all sort of clicked just before the Welsh, and then my confidence just grew from that tournament, really.
And what was your that's sort of look at your first season, Joe? What was your most memorable part of that first season, or even up to date at the moment? What sort of point since you joined the tour did you think, you know what, I'm actually improving. I'm feeling really comfortable here. I can beat these guys. What was the turnaround point?
I mean, I would probably mention it again, the Welsh Open.
The Welsh Open.
Yeah, probably. But the UK Championship just before that, I beat Ryan Day in the first round, and then went on to beat Andrew Higginson, and then ended up losing to Joe Perry in the last 32. But beating Ryan Day was sort of a big sort of shock in that tournament, and that sort of gave me just a step up of confidence, which led into the Welsh. But if you said one point, I would say the Welsh, definitely.
So it's the confidence of beating a higher ranked player in that respect. Then that instills you with a lot of confidence, and that's key. So, Louis, same for you. Would you say that that's the thing too, getting those first few wins? How did you feel, Louis, when you started beating some of the guys on the tour who have been on for a while?
Yeah, it's always a nice feeling. I'm quite a laid back person anyway. I sort of take things as they come and take everything with a pinch of salt. So just enjoy every moment of it. You know, me and Joe worked all our lives to turn professionals. No point not enjoying it or putting too much pressure on yourself, else it's not really worth it. I said when I turned pro, no matter what happens, I'm just going to enjoy it for the next 2 years and hopefully I'll stay on. But yeah, beating players above you gives you confidence. You know, they're ranked 30, 40 in the world and you're winning, and it definitely is a confidence builder.
So, guys, as we say, life on the tour, on the snooker tour, okay? Obviously, Louis, you're on your second season. It's getting a wee bit tight, okay? You know what you have to do. You know, Joe, you're pretty much secure. You know, you're not doing much wrong. You seem to be getting your qualifying wins, and you've proved, you're improving all the time, okay? In that respect, you are. And so, look, let's really get serious about this, okay? In terms of being on the tour, is it what you both expected? Quite honestly, is it really, Joe? Is it what you expected it to be completely?
Is it what I expected it to be?
You expected it to be
sort of
tougher,
what respect?
easier? What?
I would say it is what I expected it to be, but I didn't expect the sort of level of difficulty to increase by so much the higher you go up the ranks. So like the difference between sort of getting into the top 32 and sort of staying around that area is a lot more difficult than I thought. Which sort of just made me respect sort of like the top players a bit more, really, in how sort of consistent they are and just how good they are day in, day out, pretty much. But on the whole, I would say it's pretty much what I expected.
And Louis?
It is, you know, the first year, as in respect of being on the tour, I loved every minute, you know, going to all these different cities and countries and traveling all these different places. It's really good. You get to see so many different nice places, and all the venues are different and they have a different atmosphere and different setup. And I always look forward to going to the next tournament to see how it was set up or what the city's like and stuff. This year's been a bit more tough. It's been in the same sort of place the whole season, which is good. It's only an hour away for us, so it's not too bad. But it's tough going to the same place all the time. But yeah, it is what I expected. But it's hard to sort of say when from the back end of last season we've been in the same spot. So, but for the first 3 quarters of the season, my first season, I loved every minute of it, going to all these different places and that. So yeah, it is what I expected. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There is a lot of hanging about, waiting around, stuff like that. It's not all happy days, but
yeah,
I'm not moaning. I'm not moaning. Yeah,
having
to travel, not practicing for a day and a half, and then trying to get 10 minutes here and there. But yeah, it's good. I won't change it for the world. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll touch on COVID just a wee bit later. But in terms of preparation, guys, how did you feel as if you needed to prepare yourselves a bit differently than the differences between now and maybe the days when you're playing the amateur game? How do you prepare yourselves? How do you sort of, in that respect, Joe, for a competition?
Like practice wise.
In every way, practice. I mean, obviously, traveling to the venues. You know, I mean, you've had a bit of a taste of what it's like to travel to China, for example, haven't you? So, I think you have you. That's sure. Well, Joe, you have, haven't you?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like
Louis qualified first tournament, I think.
yeah. So
Correct.
yeah. Jeez. But yeah, I mean, it's that aspect. It's kind of a little bit of everything. So this is obviously very, very different. On a professional tour, you've got to prepare yourself. You're traveling to a venue. You're up against the best in the world. So, is there any particular way that you would prepare yourselves, for example, Joe?
Not really. Just before the match, I always try and sort of get a nice practice in as close to the match as I can, and sort of eating. I like to eat sort of a certain time just before, so I'm fully fueled for the match. But leading up to it, I practice sort of throughout the year anyways. I don't really have many breaks. So there's nothing sort of special that I would practice before a tournament unless sort of I'm lacking in a certain area, or I've missed a few the same shot over and over again, and I'll sort of pick up on that. But not really. I maybe play a few people a bit closer to a tournament to get some sort of bit of sharpness. But other than that, not really. Nothing spectacular.
Well, you two, as I said a few minutes ago, you two seem to have settled in quite well. I think, I mean, obviously, Joe, with your results early on when you joined the tour, but Louis, you seem to settle very quickly too when you're playing your matches. And is there anything in particular that's sort of given you that? I'll just go to you, Louis, for example, because I was quite impressed how well you could settle into your matches against some of the big guys. Is it just within your nature? Because you said you're a bit laid back. Is it just within your nature to sort of feel comfortable going into any match? It doesn't matter where it is.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said before, I love playing snooker and I love being a professional. So I just go out there and try and enjoy it and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm happy to be out there, and it's never really like a chore. So I don't know what it is. I just feel like I'm just trying to enjoy it. So I just settle in pretty easy and stuff like that. So yeah.
So who were the players, guys? We're just going to touch on the players who inspired the both of you. Okay, Joe, we'll start with you. Who were your idols as you were sort of coming through the amateur ranks? Who were the players you were looking up at, and why did you like them so much?
The main ones, Selbs, Mark. Just because we're sort of from the same place. I used to play pool as well, which obviously we both started playing. So I've seen him down at sort of the local club, playing, and then you see him on the TV, and he's sort of, you want to watch and sort of follow his journey. Yeah, I think he's sort of the only one, apart from Louis, obviously, is the man.
Good lad.
He's nobody's inspiration. Why did you turn to Louis for that? No, that's great. Mark Selby is obviously one of the toughest players on the tour to beat. He's a great match player. He's a great tactical player, and I'll tell you what I admire about Mark Selby. I know you boys are from Leicester, and what I admire about Selby is the way he can rebuild himself. He can reconstruct himself in a match, because he seems to have this ability to just like find something that's going away from him. He can fight back, and he has this tremendous ability to score and to win from behind. And it has that. And did you, Joe? Is that something you recognised? I mean, what are the differences you see between yourself and Selby?
Playing style and sort of the way I play, I would say it's quite like Mark. Obviously he plays it a lot better than I do, but I don't know if that's sort of like almost subconsciously sort of following and sort of using him as sort of examples and sort of copying the way he plays maybe. But I don't know. I'd say we're sort of fairly similar. I'm not sort of the most attacking person in the world. And I've sort of always sort of relied on sort of the safety side a bit more, maybe. The last sort of year or so, I've sort of worked on my break building, and that's sort of working a bit better for me now. But yeah, I'd say we're sort of not that far away. Bit sort of opposite to sort of Louis, I would say, who's just pops everything from anywhere. And
Gonna miss a block off the spot. That's the problem.
Listen, I didn't want to bring this up, boys. I didn't want to bring this up now, Joe, but personally, I think Louis is a lot more exciting than you and Selby.
Yeah.
You know, when we saying he is, he's a little bit more exciting to watch,
Yeah.
you know, which disappoints me because he's slightly behind you. You know, so what's your take on this, Louis? I mean, did you get anything from Selby, or did you just find him dull like I do, or you know what? I don't just say whatever you like.
Yeah, not really, to be honest. You know, I was one of them that always sort of said, "Oh, Selby's boring." Rah rah rah. I was always sort of. It was always Selby v Ronnie, and I was always the one backing Ronnie. But I think as I got older, I learned to appreciate how good Selby is and how professional he is, and I actually enjoy watching him now because everything is like so perfect and he is so good. But yeah, I was always a Ronnie man growing up, and I used to watch him on YouTube and try and mimic his cue action or his stance or something like that. But yeah, when Joe got on tour, to be fair, I really looked up to Joe because we'd grew up playing pool together in the amateur scene at Snooker. Then seeing him do well on the amateur circuit to turn pro, it really motivated me to put extra work in that year, the year after, to turn pro. Because seeing how well he did, I wasn't jealous. I was envious of him being on there, and I wasn't, because we grew up together, and I thought he's made the next step, and I haven't. So yeah, I think seeing Joe do so well, it really motivated me that year to work harder and get on the tour with him.
Let's just touch on Leicester for a moment here. You know, listen, Leicester is obviously a great city. I suppose it's fair to say it's a snooker-oriented city as well, probably just like Sheffield. I mean, we've had some good players come out of Leicester. What is it about Leicester? What is it about you lads up there that seems to sort of bring the snooker player out of you? I mean,
something in the curries,
something in the water, yeah. I think years ago it was like the home of snooker, probably. You know, with Willie Thorns, I think there was tournaments there every week. I think me and Joe went there towards the back end of Willie Thorns. But I think when it was back in its heyday, it was like the home of all the tournaments. Every pro always talks about how good the club was and how many tournaments are there. And I think it used to be packed full of professionals and good amateurs every week. So I think maybe that drew attention for people to start playing in Leicester and stuff like that.
And did you both get opportunities to go into Willie's club and see what's going on? What are your memories of Willie's club? Joe, start with you.
So I didn't really go in there an awful lot. I remember going in a couple of sort of handicap tournaments. I think they were on a Sunday. That was back when I played pool mainly. And I remember we used to, I think it was through the summer holidays of school, used to go down there and sort of practice for a few hours, just doing lineups, trying to make my first 100 on a lineup. I remember beating Joe Joggier there, I think, in a handicap tournament. Yeah, I didn't go in there that often, but some sort of good memories of, I think Malcolm, who used to run it as well, bless him. I think he passed away. How long ago was that?
Like, both of you, as far as I know, the both of you were very good pool players. And I mean, just touching on pool for a second. I mean, I always see a pool player, even a good pool player, as a field snooker player. But you know, you could say there's some great pool players out there. You reckon you two would have done very well on the IPA tour, or how do you think how far would you have taken your pool? We'll start with you.
Go on.
How far I could have taken it?
Would you have been in that top Would
I
you
don't
have been up
know.
there with,
Joe
I
would have
don't
been
know,
10-time world champion.
Sean
I can tell you
Story,
that.
Chipperfield?
Well, I started off well.
He's about 6-time world champ, I think. At 14, he'd have won about 10 world titles. He would.
Good.
Yeah, I did do well in sort of my junior career. I don't know. I never really played it in the men's tournaments. Really, I remember me and Louis got to the final of what was it? Men's Masters.
Yeah, the
Men's
Masters plate
or something. Yeah,
there was about 500 people in it, I think, and we lost first round, but I think we're about 17 or whatever. And we both got to the final of the plate. We're still good standing. I think we'd both be like world champions along the way.
Yeah.
And we were buzzing.
Yeah, and
we did a little saver in the final.
One of the best finals I've played in, I think.
Yeah, I think there was like 15 dishes or something.
Of course, the pool game has never really extended itself into big money or sponsorship. In that respect, I suppose it's a bit like rugby and football, really, isn't it? You know, where pool seems to be set aside as much as it's, you know, still entertaining. There's still big money games in there. You know, there's a lot of, there's a good friend of mine, you probably know him, Aidan Owens, who used to run the Clacton Club, but he owns a club out near Ipswich. Aidan's a very good snooker player. He's more of a senior snooker player, but he's probably a better pool player, you know, in terms of playing money matches for, say, 20,000, 30,000 pounds. But he's a fantastic snooker player, and pool player. But I mean, you know, so you moved yourselves away from pool, obviously, extended your amateur snooker game into snooker. To that extent, you know, Joe, you've done very well. Louis, you've got yourself on the tour and that. But where do you see yourselves right now? I mean, where do you see yourselves right now, Joe? Do you see yourself still moving forward? Do you want to get is your aspirations at the moment? Say what, top 32? Louis, is your aspirations that do you want to like get well in the top 64? We'll start with you, Joe.
As sort of long-term goals, like sort of what I want to achieve.
What's your target? What's your targets?
My target's number one.
Number one. So you want to get, obviously, you want to get in the top 16. How long is it going to take you to get in the top 16, Joe?
Half a season.
About 4 months. I don't know. I'm just sort of waiting for a good run, and hopefully.
All you have to do is just do a Jordan Brown. Boom!
I know, it's easy, yeah. I don't know. Hopefully in sort of a couple of seasons time, maybe. I don't know. That's where I want to be anyway. Whether it's next week or 2 years time.
Can you see yourself top 32 next season?
With me or Joe?
Joe. I'll get on to you in a minute. Just be calm.
Joe didn't reply, so I thought, is he speaking to me?
There's a slight delay. You just jump in, don't you, Lou?
Yeah.
I know.
I can't wait to start talking. That's what it is.
Next 32 next season. Yeah, I think that can be done.
Would you say that's a reasonable target for you? You know, I know you want to be number one. Everybody wants to be number one. I want to be number one, and I'm not even going to make the tour. You know, but that doesn't mean to say you're going to get there, does it? You know, but okay. So a reasonable goal for you, Joe, would be top 32 by next season. You'd be happy with that, or would you rather expect to do a bit more?
That's tough. You know, by no means is that going to be easy. I'd say that's a hard target, but I could put that down as a goal for next season.
Louis, I know you're going to have to do a little bit of work, and I know a good win at the Worlds is probably enough just to push you up there. But what would you like to do? What are your targets at the moment coming to the end of this season and next season?
Yeah, so my goal right now is just purely staying on the tour. That's my full focus at the moment. It's not been an easy season. I've lost like 4 or 5 deciders, which could have changed the season, but there's nothing you can do about that now. It's just literally everything I've got, I'm just putting into staying on the tour, and then hopefully next season I really want to start kicking on. I feel like if I stay on, then I would have done my apprenticeship for the 2 years, and I think that'll be this next year will be the time where I try and kick on, get inside the top 50, I'd say, and then keep progressing each season.
Okay, so we've talked about where you want to go. Let's talk about what you need to do. Okay. Now, the both of you have had a lot of experience playing some of the top players on the tour. That's the same time. I've got you back. Let's talk about your weaknesses.
Back.
Is there any? Yeah, we're back with a better volume. Joe, we'll start with you. Having played the matches that you've played, and you've secured your spot on the tour for another 2 seasons. Let's talk about your weaknesses and the areas of the game you'd like to improve.
I would say I do this sort of quite often, is sort of break concentration, and it's definitely something that I'm sort of trying to work on. Just having that sort of the lapse in concentration, play one sort of silly shot or one sort of easy mistake, and it can cost you at this level. That could be the change in the match, change in momentum, and sort of everything like that. I definitely sort of want to work on that, and just sort of being able to finish frames in one visit more often. Break building, which is what I've been working on. Getting in and punishing, that's what you need to do, and that's something I'm really working on.
And have you seen these things very clearly now because you've been on the professional tour, even more so than any other time before, because you've been on the tour playing the best in the world? Is it easier to recognize?
Yes, it opens up your weaknesses a lot more, just because you get punished a lot more often for them. So you're getting in the balls and making 30, 40, 50, and just when you're playing the likes of Selby, Higgins, anyone in the top 32, you're going to be punished, and you lose the frame, and then you have to sit there and think, where did I go wrong, sort of thing. So it definitely makes you think quick.
And do you reflect on that after the match? I mean, how do you look at that? Do you look at yourself on YouTube, or do you walk away and say, you know what, I made a few mistakes there, I'm going to have to work on this, I missed a few balls? How do you recompense that? Do you go back on the table and think, right, okay, I've got to play this shot again, I've got to be stronger, there's areas in my game I need to work on? Does that change your routine a bit? Do you work harder because of that?
Yeah, I would say I do. I don't so much sort of watch myself back. The only time that I watch myself back really is going back to the Welsh Open again, when I played Higgins. I like to watch that match, if I'm sort of lacking a bit of confidence or something, and sort of look back at a time when I was playing well, and sort of hope that sort of brings something out of me. But I don't know, it depends on how I lost the match, how, whether I missed an easy ball, whether it was my fault or it was just my opponents played really well, and there's not that much I can do about it. But there's always the room for sort of consistency, and if you played a perfect match, you wouldn't lose, would you? So it's sort of striving for that sort of as close to perfection as you can get, really.
Louis,
what do I need to improve on? Everything, I think.
Turning up earlier.
Yeah, definitely. Every time I play Joe, it's like he says 9 o'clock, I'm there at 9:45. I've been missing like a few silly balls here and there. I think they cost me a few matches. I did one against Judd, one against Marco Holt, against Jack Lazarski. They're not even like twitches, just a lack of concentration or just for a split second, and I miss when I'm like 40 up or I've got a chance to win the match. And it's not even like I feel like I'm twitching. I just end up missing, and I think, where's that come from? So I'm not sure how to sort of rectify that. I think maybe there's only a certain amount of times that I'm going to miss these balls before I start fully concentrating for the whole visit. But I think my safety game's improved quite a lot. I got my good friend called Josh. He, at the end of last season, he watched quite a lot of my matches back at the start of the frames because I was never getting in first. And he says he sent me like 10 videos. He says, well, every time your opponent's got in first, you've gone for a long one or played a silly shot and let them in. So this season, I've tried to like rein it in at the start of the match instead of going for a silly ball. Sort of try and put a good safety in or play some conservative shots. And I've ended up getting in quite a lot quite a lot this season. So I feel like that's improved. But yeah, just got to improve on everything, really.
That's one of the reasons why I mentioned that, guys, because I like to encourage players to watch themselves, because sometimes there's a lot of things you can see just by watching a match that you don't see on the table when you're there on the day. There's a lot of things you'll think, why didn't I play that shot? Why did I do this? There's a lot of whys and a lot of questions why you did things, but quite often having a reflection on that helps you move forward. And so that's the reason why I would always encourage a player to watch himself to see. I know it's not very exciting. It's not very exciting to watch a whole match of yourself on YouTube, and I can appreciate just moving forward. But that's one of the reasons why I mentioned that, and it's one of the reasons why I keep asking players where their strong points are. What would you say, Louis, that your strong parts of your game are?
I feel like my long game's quite good. Probably back myself to pot pretty much any long ball, but which can be a bad thing sometimes because it makes me go for more. But yeah, I think my scoring in long game's quite good.
And what about yourself, Joe? I mean, we talked about your game a bit, but what is the strongest aspect of your game, Joe, in your view, or a part of it that's improved since you've got on the tour?
I would say, and I'd hope sort of like Louis would confirm this, but I'd say I've got a pretty good temperament,
definitely,
which definitely helps in sort of a lot of matches, all matches really. So my break building is improved. It wasn't bad, but to the level that we play out on the tour, I would say it needed sort of improving, and that's getting closer to where I want to be now. My safety sort of, I can usually rely on that. So mainly sort of everything but the long potting, which I need to borrow Louis' arm for 2 shots.
And you sort of bounce off each other a little bit in that respect. Do you sort of look at each other's games and say, Louis, you pretty much acknowledged his discipline there in terms of temperament.
Yeah.
Would you say the same about yourself? Would you say your temperament is good or bad or lower than his, or would you like to improve it?
It's definitely improved. When I was younger, I used to spit my dummy out, punch the table, get the but it's definitely improved. Mentality's got a lot better, but I feel like if we had like half of my game, half of Joe's game, we'd come up with a good player. There's a lot of aspects of Joe's game I'd love to take into mine. His temperament is ridiculous. I think I watched him play against Mark Joyce. I think it was in the German, and I think it was 4-3. I think Joe lost the frame, Mark Joyce needed a snooker, I think, and then the next frame Joe just had like a ton in the decider, and I was like, to be able to do that, I think he was like 4-2 up as well. I can't remember. Joe will know more than me, but to have a temperament like that and be able to do that, it's a good quality to have, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, temper's the thing. I suppose it's a difficult one to work on. In that regards, is it more difficult when you're at these professional venues to restrain yourself. I mean, in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously referees are watching things all the time, but I mean, I've got a terrible temper. My temper hasn't changed at all. But I mean, do you both feel as if it's something you can? I mean, Joe, yours is okay. We know that. You're doing all right. You don't need to improve that. But what are the things you think you need to do, Louis, in order to improve your temperament? And how do you think that's going to affect your game?
I'm not sure. It's tough because I can't control how I'm feeling at the time. It's hard to, like, if I miss a ball or something will happen, I'll just get this like rage of my blood's burning in my body. I can feel it. I just get really angry, but I try not to show it too much. And I feel like I can deal with it quite well. But maybe when I was going to the gym and stuff, my mentality was a lot better. I felt a lot better, more positive, and that definitely showed on the table as well. So maybe, hopefully, when gym's back open, I can start to feel a bit better again.
Right, lads. So let's go back a little bit here, okay? Let's go back to the time when you just before you got on the tour, okay? Let's have a look at the standard you were playing then and what you were doing then compared to where you are right now. How much do you feel that you've improved as a player since getting on the tour? Have you improved a lot? Joe, start with you. Have you improved an enormous amount, or have you just sort of like refined your game? How do you look at this?
I'd say if I played myself before I turned pro, first to 10, I think I would win probably 10-1, 10-2 now, I would say. So if that sort of reflects on how much I've sort of grown as a all-round sort of player, I think. Sort of honing in on sort of my break building and making me sort of more of an all-round player, I think.
Mm-hmm. And that pretty much has a reflection on your position in the rankings, actually. You could say, Louis. Over to you, Louis.
All right. Yeah, I think I'd be the same as Joe. I feel like I've improved a lot. I think the belief's there as well. Now that I do belong on the tour. I think before I turned pro, I weren't really sure if I was good enough, or I had doubts in my head. I was working a lot and not really practicing. But I feel like if I played myself now, like Joe said, I'd probably win 10-0, 10-1.
Mm-hmm. And that will be. I mean, obviously, you had the experience of Q school, Louis. To that extent. Joe, do you have any reflections on Q school? I mean, obviously, it was in the back of your mind when you were playing on the amateur scene. And you did. Obviously, you got on the tour through the playoffs. What is your thoughts and feelings of Q school? For amateurs, and a little reflection on yourself. How do you think you've done
it? I mean, I'm glad that I didn't have to go. That year, it was sort of I got on through the playoffs, but I sort of looked at it as a free sort of bonus chance of trying to get on the tour, knowing that I had Q school. I think a month or two later, it was sort of like a free shot. But sort of getting on and watching Q school from the sidelines was quite nice. But Q school's tough. I played in it 3 or 4 times, I think. Got to the last round once.
Yeah.
Lost to Lee Walker. That was a few years ago now. But I think I lost because I don't think I was ready to turn pro. Along with sort of obviously Lee being the better player on the day. I don't think I was ready. If I'd have turned pro then, I don't think I'd have done much. And maybe dropped off 2 years later with no confidence. So it might have been a good thing, sort of not getting through. But it's tough, and Louis came through it. Probably the hardest way. Beating someone that beat him 4-0 and coming back from snookers and. It's a good story.
Well, that's Louis. Let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, obviously you'll remember it as a very joyful occasion because it got you on the tour. But let's talk about your experience at Q School. I mean, it's pretty tough. So, what's your reflection on it?
Yeah, it's torture, absolute torture. And I just say that if Joe didn't get through the playoffs, he definitely would have got through Q School. He was more than good enough. He dominated the amateur scene, and it was just his time to turn pro. Whether it was the playoffs or Q School, he definitely would have gone. But yeah, it's tough. You got 200 of the best amateurs there, and it's not like a season long thing. You know, you can dominate the whole season and win tournaments all year, but if you don't play well in Q School, then all that is worth nothing. So it's all on that week. You just got to find a bit of form and a bit of luck here and there, and hope for the best.
Do you know, I always say to the lads, I mean, a few of my lads got on the tour who played my competitions last year, you know, they did very well. And I always say to them, it's not an awful lot about getting on the tour. It's about actually believing you can make a living on the tour. Did you two actually think about that point about as to whether you feel you can make a living on the tour? You know, I mean, Joe, you've proved that you can. You know, and Louis, you proved you're getting close to that top bracket. So, did you both feel that you could make a good living on the tour, or were you just like, oh, I'm not sure, I don't know what the hell, I'm not sure. I'll just have to get in there and give it a go. Joe?
Yeah, sort of the way sort of Barry Hearns grew snooker, you know, over the last sort of about 8 to 10 years or so. Being 64 in the world and just staying on is enough to sort of to earn a living. So when I turned pro, I sort of looked at that 64 mark. I'm like, I can get to 64. If I get to 64, I'm earning a living. So that was the first goal. But when I turned pro, I said to myself, even if I drop off after 2 years, I just want to be a better player than when I turned pro. And that was sort of my mentality, sort of going into it, hoping that I would get back on for another 2 years, and then sort of having a span of 4 years worth of it on the professional tour, would definitely make me a better player. And that was sort of, I just wanted to be better, sort of thing, and just sort of constantly improving. And yeah, I had the belief, but you know, it's easier said than done.
And Louis?
I always felt like if I got on tour, I think I could do some damage and earn a living, because I'm quite a confidence player and stuff like that. So I thought if I got on tour, I'd have the confidence and I'd just go from step to step. But obviously, it's not easy and stuff like that. But I always felt like if I did get there, I could make a living from it.
Well, I think it's slightly different sort of outlook there from the both of you. You know, I mean, you in terms of maybe style of play, you're both a bit different. You know, too. I mean, you could say maybe Lou, you're a bit more attacking than Joe. Is that fair to say? You know, whereas Joe's safety game is improved and it's tight. It's always been pretty good, actually. You know, I mean, all the lads I spoke to, Joe, who were playing you when you were at the top of your game in the amateur tour, just thought you were too good, really. You know, anybody who knew they were going to get you, you know, they knew they were going to get a game. So it was kind of the feeling that you were going to get on the tour. You know, whereas maybe Louis, you know, you get into Q School thinking, you know, I've got to really give this everything that I have. I'm still very young, you know. Like, guys, I've been interviewing some of the professional players who have been on the tour for 20 odd years, and they tend to reflect back to when they're about your age, and there always seems to be that struggle in their early 20s, maybe even in their 30s, in terms of getting it together. And there's times when they've maybe come off the tour and got back on again and become better players as they've got more mature and spent more time. Do you sort of look at things like that? Do you sort of think, you know, right, I know what I've got to do. I've got to keep doing the right thing and that there. How do you think these long-term players, how do you think they keep themselves on there? What do you think that they have? what have these players who have stayed in the top 64 and the top 32 have made a good living? What is it that they have that you would like to have? Joe?
The consistency. Being good more often. That's what I want.
So,
yeah. Just sort of the consistency. The obviously consistent to stay on for 5-10 years. Some 20 years. You have to either be extremely good or just be consistent to the point where you're at a level and you never really drop below it.
Louis?
Yeah, similar to Joe. I think it's the consistency of beating the players that you should beat, the players lower ranked than you. You very rarely see like a top 32, top 48 player lose to players that they shouldn't be, or lower ranked players. That's the consistency of beating them all the time. That's where their bread and butter's made, beating them players, and then they get wins here and there and stuff like that. I think they've all been through tough times, like you said, around our age. They've dropped off, got back on. They've been through, I think Neil Robertson dropped off 2 or 3 times. Sean Murphy was going to quit and then won the world. So I think there's a point in their career where they sort of just kick on and move to the next level. And hopefully Joe's starting to do that. Hopefully I can follow his footsteps and do the same.
Now, obviously, both of you know Mark very well. I think you do. I think both of you know Mark quite well. Was there times when you turned to him and take advice from him on certain matters, or do you just sort of like, you know what, I don't need you? I mean, I do look at this. I mean, do you have that type of relationship where you can actually turn to Mark and say, look, there's an area of my game I'm struggling with? Do you feel as if you can go to him and have a conversation with him like that?
I don't think I'm that close with Mark. I'm close. I'll always sort of talk to him and text him and what have you. But I probably wouldn't go to him for sort of questions on my game. I don't think. I don't know. I'm quite sort of a self like evaluator sort of thing. Like I'll look at my own problems and try and work it out myself rather than asking others, which is probably like, it's a pro and a con. So I sort of try and work it out myself. I don't know whether Lou, you're more of a maybe ask someone else, or I don't know. I'd say you're probably similar in that sense.
Do you think, Louis?
Yeah, I try not to think about my cue action and stuff like that too much. I'm just trying to play as natural as I can, and I think the more you think about it, the more you can put bad thoughts in your head. Obviously, there is times that you need to ask and stuff. If I was going to ask anyone, I'd probably ask Fordy. Fordy's he's helped me out, given me advice, and always looked after me since a young age. So I'd probably turn to Fordy if anyone.
Couple of things I'm going to touch on here, guys, before we wrap this up. Tends to go fairly quickly. Let's just talk about coaching, okay? Joe, we'll start with you. In terms of coaching since you got on the tour, have you had any? Do you need any? And what's your situation on that?
I've never had a coach. Like I say, I'm sort of very sort of independent. Sort of, I don't know. I like to be in control, and I don't know. I like to look at my own problems and try and solve them myself. So I've never really looked for a coach. I would if I was to get a coach, I think it'd have to be someone that's probably been there and done it. I would find it hard to sort of listen to someone that's not been a player sort of thing, and sort of been in the situations and experienced what it is like to be a player. But I'm not seeking in a coach or looking for a coach.
Well, you probably don't need to, because I think if a lot of players were in your position where they're creeping up the rankings gradually, it's fairly reasonable to say that you're consistent and you're moving up the rankings. So perhaps just carry on as you are. Really, what about yourself?
I've always had someone that would like come pick balls out for me, and they'd keep an eye on what's what, and if they spotted anything, they'd let me know. But I don't, like Joe said, if for someone, I don't really like people telling me to change this, change that, because I'm quite a natural player. But just before Christmas, I went down to Wales, did some work with Terry Griffiths. Like I said to you before, I was missing these balls or in deciders, and I was missing some silly shots. I thought, is there something that I can change to help this? So I went down did a few hours with Terry, and he sort of changed how I grip the cue or something like that, a few bits. And yeah, I feel like a lot more comfortable, feel like I'm a bit more consistent recently, and I've not had a bad start to 2021. I feel like he's helped me quite a bit. So yeah, I think I'll probably go back down to see him. But yeah, just been working with Toe Griffiths a little bit.
Excellent stuff. And just to finish off, lads, Joe, we're going to start with you. Big question is, where are you going to be this time next season? Where are you going to be on that chart?
This time next season, I will be. Where am I now?
Well, you're 40. You're
I'm gonna be higher. I'm gonna be higher. Can I say that?
42 in the world.
I will be 35.
Oh, outside the top 32. That's a very, very interesting answer, actually. Because I was kind of.
It's not the end of the season yet. I've still got the Worlds to get into the 32. You see.
So yeah, but you have to this time next season. You're going to have been through most of the season. So okay, well that is a very, very cautious sort of outlook, if you want to say, which is good. That kind of has a reflection on your character, actually. Louis?
I'll be pulling pints and preparing for Q school. I'm joking. I really think I can be top 50. Top 48 I'd like to be, but I think top 50 I can get there next year.
Well, boys, it's all to play for. You've got Jib starting tomorrow. You've got the World Championships. There's a couple of other bits and pieces to get through. There's enough meat in the pie there to get your teeth into. So, hopefully with a bit of luck, we can get the Leicester lads up and up and up and up and up. Okay. Joe, thanks very much. Louis, thanks very much for joining us, guys.
Pleasure.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Good luck this week, lads. I'll be watching out and expecting a lot from you. Okay? No
Cheers,
pressure.
Mate.
But just try and do something, all right?
Cheers.
Cheers,
Thanks
mate.
for joining us, everybody. Nick